about 4.5 years ago when I actually met Daniel on the worship team, and he was leading a trip to Thailand so that we could serve the Karen people in Burma. And there's always been this call on me to go out into the world, and I never really had a direction. But something about Myanmar, something about the people there, we watched this documentary on Netflix, and it just absolutely called to me. And so I just went, kind of just threw everything that I knew about missions out the window and just went with the ride.
It takes you out of your comfort zone so far that you have to rely on God. There's literally nothing you can do while you're there. You don't have your phone. You can't just call somebody because it's 12 hours difference between the U.S. and Thailand. It puts you rely on God, and you rely on the people that you go with and the people there.
When we went to Myanmar in January, I had been to a brick building village. We had been to the brick building village multiple times. Last time that we had gone, I had the opportunity to meet a woman who had just had a baby, and we got to pray over her, we got to talk to her, and she even actually put Tanaka on my face for the day, which if you know anything about Myanmar and the Burmese people, it's not just like a sunscreen or a cultural thing, it's also a fashion statement, but it's a way to identify people for sure from Myanmar, the Tanaka, yellow Tanaka on their face. It was just so fun and special to have her give that to me as kind of a blessing, as a gift, for being there and just praying over her. But when we met her mother was there as well. And when we went back in January, we went into a hut and we talked to a woman who was watching over the grandchildren while everybody in the village worked on building the bricks. And it wasn't until we had our pastor and translator, Stephen, talking to her that she had mentioned that she remembered me. She remembered us. She remembered us from a year ago. And that because the people who were in that village came together not as everybody knowing each other, but just as people who needed to work together to make a living and to be in a place that could provide security in numbers. She didn't see her family often. The faces that she saw the most often that weren't already in the village were the faces of Ray and Candace and their team and us in that year that had passed, and that she said that we were more like her family than her family because she had seen us more often than her own family who were scattered throughout Myanmar. And that touched me so deeply. That brings me back to Genesis, where we're meant to be stewards of this whole world. We're meant to create, we're meant to be fruitful, we're meant to have relationships with each other and with God. And to think that there's a relationship thousands and thousands of miles across the world that I didn't even realize was starting, but there it is. And that story reminds me every day that there's something across the world that God's doing that we're a part of. And it's worth going, it's worth seeing what He's doing, and it's worth being a part of every single day.